And we are back. I'm Stefan Hertel, and I'm here with Jay Donovan of Bare Steel Designs. How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing pretty good. Yourself?
Awesome.
There we go.
We're back here at the Handbuilt show. It's Sunday. It's the last day. We are open from noon to 6. So if you're not out at the racetrack, come on down and check out these amazing bikes. This is the last time you're going to get to see them this year, and you'd have to wait all the way till next year. So, Jay, where are you from?
I'm from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. So 3,600 mile road trip down.
And it's a long haul for you, and we really appreciate you making the drive. This is something that you've kind of gotten into somewhat recently?
Yeah, this is kind of one of the first real full-on builds I've taken on. Much out of the view of just coming down to shows like yours, especially shows like yours, and seeing what everyone else is doing, and just kind of sparking that curiosity, I suppose.
Yeah. So I think I've told you before, but I'll let these guys know too.
Yeah.
I saw your bike for the first time at Michael Lichter's show in Sturgis, and this was one that stood out so strong in the room, and I was like, wow, that's incredible craftsmanship, just beautiful design, and just really like it caught my attention in a very good way. It's exceedingly high quality work, and then I found out that you're very young. So how old are you?
I'm 24 now. So I was building this for Michael's, was 23.
Wow.
That makes much of a difference at this point.
Yeah, I think when I was 23, I was still trying to figure out how the bars worked.
I'm still figuring that one out too. Yeah.
So this looks like you've got a really kind of consistent thought that you were going for. Like, what was your process to kind of come to this? Like, first to come up with the design and like the overall layout, and then after we'll get into the details of how you do it.
Yeah, it was a pretty organic process on this one, and still very much experimenting and trying to figure out exactly what processes work for me and how to implement them. But this was just a lot of bending wire and trying to get a visual for different lines and shapes. And
you kind of starting with welding ad rod, and just kind of build a bit of
TIG wire, and then starting kind of some of the main line concepts. And it was pretty natural, like, you bend up a line, and you go back and stand and look at it for a while, and then you go tweak it. And I probably went through quite a few different forms just doing that, and then ended up making like a 1/8" solid wire buck out of the actual overall form.
And then that gets you kind of roughed into like the shapes that you want the final result to have. And then how did you go about shaping all this aluminum? Because I know that this all started out as a flat sheet, and through the magic of your hands, you were able to turn it into this beautiful shape.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what attracted me to the metal shaping and the metalwork, is just like the thought that you could make anything you wanted, really, once you acquired the skill set. Still very much acquiring the skill set, but
I can tell you've acquired a massive set of skills already.
Well, benefit of the age, I suppose, eh? Yeah. So a lot of this was kind of basic hand tools, post dollies, slappers, hammers, sandbags, an English wheel, and mechanical shrinker stretcher have kind of been my go-to, as well as just like classic stump shrinking. Yeah.
And how did you learn that stuff? I mean, I'm guessing that there's not like a school in...
Yeah, no, not quite.
Yeah.
So I got my background in collision repair, and so I got my ticket in auto body, which kind of introduced me to the metalwork and the metal shaping. Obviously, a lot of like hammer and dolly work involved. And then I was lucky enough...
That kind of explains how you got all your panels to look so good.
Yeah, like I think that top piece alone, there was about 20 hours just in slapping and sanding and slapping.
Just doing all the planishing and getting everything out to nice smooth, because you can look at how the light moves around and moves off this and reflects.
Yeah.
And it may not come through in video, and it may not come through in photos, but in person, holy cow, this is flawless.
Thank you. There's always the spots I'm looking at, of course. It's never perfect, but always happy, never satisfied, right?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. It's the same for our builds. I know everything that I don't like about it, and no one has any idea what they are, and they just keep me up at night.
Yeah, completely. But no, from the collision stuff, I ended up just kind of getting introduced to as much theory as I could, books, forums, all that, and then I ended up taking a coach building class back in Boston and then Christian Sosa's class in Vegas, and then kind of pieced all that together, understanding that it was just a matter of putting in the time.
So if you were going to advise somebody else that was interested in starting to learn some of this stuff, what would the best advice be?
I mean, I think just kind of remain open and have the patience, certainly. But forums like allmetalshaping.com and Metal Meet are two phenomenal resources. Like I say, I probably spent a year on those before I even bought any tools, just kind of obsessing over it. And then you can pick up some relatively cheap English wheels and stuff like that, but you can get away with a stump and a sandbag. So it's not necessarily the most expensive thing to get into. It just requires a lot of kind of time and patience.
So it looks like you've got at least a bit of the original chassis kind of down for the swing arm mounts, but then as soon as you leave the swing arm mounts, that's all custom fabrication. The exhaust is really an important part of this bike. That's really well done, and it looks quite a bit different than a lot of the guys that have been doing lobster backs and some of the tighter bend radiuses. So what was how was it to build that exhaust?
It was interesting. I did one set of pipes before this and used a lot more of the lobster cuts and the pie cuts. And so for this, I knew I wanted something a bit cleaner. So I tried to do it out of larger radius bends and obviously cut it where I only had to. But I actually mocked it up with vacuum cleaner hose. And
that's a good tip.
Get that all in place. You can kind of tape it and space it up and then measure the radiuses off of the vacuum cleaner hose. But it was kind of for the sake of, the excesses have been done so much that the exhaust has been routed how many different ways. And it was just trying to think of a different way to do it and have it interact with the motor still and kind of the bike in its own personal way.
And then we can't forget about the swing arm and the monoshock because it all just flows together so nicely. And I really like the over-under bracing. That's got to be a really stiff swing arm.
And
how does it ride?
It's fun. It's nimble, and it's still like you guys do. It's conscious of the geometry and the math, and to make sure it wasn't messing anything up after one of the riding some scary stuff in the past, right? So it's a 08 Ducati rear shock, and then the Suzuki front end.
Did you end up machining triples, or did the
No,
geometry
that's actually
work out?
that's the stock triples. The geometry all worked out. So I'm I've got no steering dampener on it, which is something to pay attention to. But I only had it on the road for 2 weeks or so. Put about 300K on it, and kilometers, not miles. And then had to take it back off the road once the rain hit. But
man, I gotta say. This is extremely impressive work, and
thank you.
I'm really glad that there's young guys coming in.
Trying,
A lot
right?
of people think that we're young guys, but we're starting to feel a little bit older these days. And to see somebody in their early 20s building at this level is such a great thing for what's happening. And you're right, the excess has been done many times, and to see it done in a very unique way, in a really clean, excellent craftsmanship.
Thank you very much.
Hats off, man.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
Can't wait to see what's next for you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I guess we'll have to wait and find out, and hopefully be down here next year with another one. So.
All right, man. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of the show, and I hope you have a safe trip back to Canada. And
it'll be great.
We'll look for you next year.
I can't thank you guys enough for putting all this on.
Awesome.
Cheers.
All right, well, there you've got it. This is Jay Donovan's bike from Bear Steel Design, and up next we've got Alan and Andy talking about the BMW R9T bike that we're going to be giving away. And I've ridden that bike a fair amount in a bunch of different races. We've done ice racing, we've done flat track racing, we've done just a bunch of riding around town, and it is a super fun bike, so you don't want to miss that. Those two can go on about it for hours. Stay tuned.
What would you like to know about this motorcycle? It's real loud. Lots of loud, real fast.
Oh, hey,
it's you guys. And I have this beautiful, just like cul-de-sac that just happens to be near our shop. Hi, I'm Alan from Revival Cycles and the Handbuilt Show. And this is our trusty BMW R9T. We got this bike when R9T first came out. We managed to kind of steal it from BMW. We decided that we were going to go ice racing at the Mama Tried show one year, and we'd done it on a Harley, but we hadn't done it on a BMW. It was a street race, a flat track race, and a ice racing, and we wanted a BMW to take. So we chose the R9T. We got this thing on like a Monday, and by Wednesday we had done custom exhaust, kind of modified the side panel, deleted the air box, taken all the clear coat off the beautiful aluminum tank. We'd put ice tires on it, a custom Moto Gadget gauge. We had a cool ice fender on here that we kind of took off. Some Roland Sands valve covers. And of course, at that point, some flat track tires, and then swapped it out to ice tires. And actually what we really did was Stefan jumped in the van, drove this bike in the back of the van to Mama Tried. And during the Mama Tried show, which was Friday and Saturday, Stefan screwed ice screws into the tire and every single knobby on the tire. And it only took him like 9 hours to sit there and screw ice screws in. Anyway, we took it out on the ice. He flat tracked it the night before with flat track tires and did really, really well. And then we took it out on the ice on Sunday and had a ton of fun on a brand new motorcycle with 130 horsepower and tons of torque doing giant wheelies. Then we brought it back, put street tires on it, got rid of the big ice fender that was on it, and we put some Moto Gadget bar end mirrors on it. And configured it for the street. You can see over around here actually there's some custom exhaust that we built all out of stainless. It's really, really damn loud if you can't hear, like this thing. It pisses off the neighbors, but I call it the safety kit. Anyway, so what have we had this thing? 3 years. It's only got 4,000 miles on it. We took it to the twist off, we went drag racing. We've been lending it out to friends. I've ridden it all over California. Almost crashed it, but haven't because of the ABS and how good all of that works really well on this bike. And we've decided that we're going to give this one away at the Handbuilt show this year. In exchange, BMW is gonna hook me up, I think with a discount on a nice Urban GS, which should be pretty cool. The reason we decided to upgrade to the Urban GS is that I'm taller and I like the Urban GS better. No, not really. It's just a more like urban ready bike. There's one great thing about the Urban GS is it sits up a bit higher, you can see a bit better. It's a little more off-road capable, and it has a styling that we like. It's a very similar basis obviously to the R9T, but it's a bike I want, and I'm willing to let the R9T go to get an Urban GS. So that's what we're gonna do. So if you go to the website link in this YouTube video or our Instagram, you can go register to win this thing, no purchase necessary. We're gonna give it away at the end of the Handbuilt show to somebody, and they're gonna love it. We've loved the hell out of it. I think someone else is gonna love it a whole bunch. I just rode it today for the first time in a few months, and I've forgotten how great it is. I mean, it's got heated grips, right? This Moto Gadget gauge that's on here does so much. It's full functionality in this little small package that we installed onto it. Everything's there. It's taken a beat in this bike, and it's still done really well. And I think it's going to provide someone with a few more years, a lot more years of enjoyment. I think there are a lot of stories. Most of the team at Revival has gotten a chance to flog this bad boy. You should talk to them. You should ask them a few questions. I think more than likely you're going to hear some very similar stories of people that have loved this bike and are sad that I'm letting it go, but are hoping to love the Urban GS, if not just as much, a bit more. So anyway, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share, follow, register to win our motorcycle. We're giving it away. Buy tickets, do that. See you guys soon, 2 weeks. I was privileged enough to get to do a trip with two of my brothers. who flew in from Michigan, and I put my youngest brother on this, and we did about 2,000 miles, and he was so stoked that he was talking about buying one for about 6 months.
So my favorite memory of the R9T is last year at Handbuilt show. We had just kind of wrapped the show, and Jay Leno was coming in to do the interview at the Wall of Death. And from the Wall of Death, we were coming back to the shop, and I got to ride this bike in particular from the show to the shop, and I rode with some of the other mechanics, and they were on their bikes, and it was just one of those cool feelings where I was on a badass bike with some friends. Jay Leno had just ridden it. We all came back here, sat around and ate barbecue while they were filming the show. Not a lot to do about the bike, but it is a great bike, tons of power, fun to ride. The exhaust on this sounds great. Probably about 20 minutes in, you'll hate it, but it sounds great.
So my favorite memory of the R9T, well, our R9T, is riding it after Wheels and Waves out to the flat track races out there, their event there, riding up and down the coast on the PCH, passing cars with loud exhaust is really fun. And I rode it to Jay Leno's garage, which was pretty cool. Yeah.
My favorite part of this bike is showing it at the Revival Cycles South Congress store. Everyone really wanted to rent this bike, but the best part is turning the bike on and wrapping the exhaust and scaring all the brunch people. It's really loud. It's especially good for the Austin traffic. You give just pulling the clutch and ring the neck on this bike, and the traffic next to you knows you're there. It's really loud, but not so loud for you on the bike, which is great. It's light, nimble, quick through the turns out in the hill country here. Definitely gonna miss this bike because it's light, fast, fun, and great for a short rider like myself.
I really like this bike, actually. This is one of my favorites, and the first time I got to ride this was at Mama Tried in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the very first time I got on it was my very first flat track race on Coke syrup, and also the very first time I'd done head-to-head motorcycle racing, so who knew? Managed to qualify for the main, but definitely did not win that event. And the only claim to fame is I passed Roland Sands in a race under competition because he crashed. Let's see, and then after that we got to go out and do some ice racing, which was super cool. So after dragging cylinder heads around in the arena, we went out on the ice and drug them around out there. I was amazed at how well it hooked up and how much traction we had, and ripping wheelies on the ice on this was fantastic. I am gonna miss this bike, actually. I've been really happy to have it around, and it's been a fun one to jump on and play with, but I hope that it goes to a new owner that loves it as much as we do.
The BMW R9T. If it were a woman, I'd allow it to ruin my credit score.